Hello, welcome to Authortunities Open Mic, where the whole point of this is for you to promote yourself. Whether you write poetry or prose, this is the place for you to share it. And if you want to find out more about the Authortunities Open Mic and how you can participate, go ahead and go to authortunities.substack.com.
Grab some paper, grab your pen, open opportunities, and you can begin. When you exercise your rights and get published, you may change. Write your own path, both wonderful and strange, with opportunities.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of what are we doing? Authortunities Open Mic. That's right. That's where we are right now. We are in control. Anyways, welcome to another Authortunities Open Mic, and let's get started. We have a full house today, and I'm going to do something a little bit different. I'm going to introduce everybody by their amazing bios because they have some amazing bios in here, and we're going to go in order of sign up. And first, we have Ayana Walker, who is a dual wave particle, time-traveling specter, writer, and poet that has crash landed in San Francisco, California, by way of Delano, California. And though highly addictive in her natural state, she is neither poisonous nor virulent, but experts have recommended proceeding with caution and only indulging in small doses. I hope we get more than small doses today, because I think that Ayana sounds a little bit addictive, perhaps. Then next, we're going to have Pixie Bruner, who is a writer, editor, and cancer survivor. She lives in Atlanta with her doppelgänger and alien cats. Her collection, The Body is Haunted, was published in 2024 by Authortunities Press. I've heard of them. Her poetry has been published forthcoming in Space and Time magazine. I've heard of them too. Whispers from Beyond, one of the best poetry books out there from Crystal Lake Publishing, Starline, Dreams of Nightmares, Punk Noir, and more. She also wrote for White Wolf Gaming Studio and is an SFPA and HWA member. Then we're going to hear from Shane Morin. Shane is an urban poet living in the seacoast of New Hampshire. After his second divorce, he had begun writing as a form of grief, processing both his daughter and the parental alienation that accompanied their separation. Since then, Shane has honed his craft to blend postmodernity. That's a hard word for me to say, modernity. Anyways, I'm a reader and not a speaker for many reasons, with speculative concepts as well as topics of contemporary horror, which we all love. Shane holds a passionate fascination with anything space and identifies as a cisgender male feminist and LGBTQIA++ ally. Shane is currently completing his master's in literature at UNH and hopes to apply to be an MFA in the near future. In his spare time, Shane binges Stargate, SG-1, and most anything Star Trek. Then we're going to have Craig Brownlee. Craig's collection, Thick as a Brick, which, by the way, is in my e-reader right now, and I'm loving it. His collection, Thick as a Brick, is available on Godless and Amazon. Read his stories in Wands, Year of the Tarot. Space and Time magazine, again. Gosh, it's like they're super famous or something. Unspeakable Horrors 3, Dark Rainbow Rising, Jersey Devil Press, Lovecraftiana, Stranger with Friction, No More Resolutions, and Demons and Death Drops. And you can find him and all these links, by the way, in the description. And he's on Facebook as CraigBrownlee.3. Then we will have Gordon Linsner, who is a founder and former editor of Space and Time magazine. Wow, I'm seeing a theme here. Author of 5 published novels and scores of short stories appearing in FS&F, Twilight Zone, Sherlock Holmes Mystery Magazine, and numerous other magazines and anthologies. He's a full member of the Horror Writers Association and a lifetime member of the Science Fiction and Fantasy Writers Association. And Amanda Worthington will be reading with us today. She's a poet and speculative fiction writer from Kansas City, Missouri. She has had work published in Space and Time, Siren's Call, Carnage House, and the second volume of the anthology Horoscope, where she relished the opportunity to write about a bookstore with a coffee shop, a suspicious old dog, and vengeful Egyptian gods. She is currently working on a novel about the mob, ancient overlords, and global warming. a book of poetry about sea creatures and heartbreak, and a novella about a haunted boat. She founded and chairs the Heartland chapters of the Horror Writers Association and occasionally blogs about liminal spaces. When she's not writing, she's usually working crosswords, cooking, or getting lost in a forest somewhere. There's so many questions I want to ask you guys about these bios. And then me, I'm Angela Rico Smith, a third-generation Ryukan American poet, author, and publisher, current publisher of Space and Time magazine, a two-time Bram Stoker Award winner and HWA Mentor of the Year, and I currently serve as an HWA trustee. Oh, who cares about mine? Anyways, welcome everybody. Let's get reading. This is like, I'm so excited tonight. Yeah, let's just get into it. First, we're going to have Ayana. I don't know if I'm going to read the bios again. I love all you guys's, but I felt like that took us away from reading the poetry, which is kind of like the whole cool thing about this, poetry and prose. We are going to hear from Ayana Walker first, if you're ready, Ayana, and then let's get into this poetry reading.
Cool.
Keep saying
Thank
poetry.
you.
All the things. We're reading poetry and prose.
Yeah. Thank you. I am ready. Tonight I will be reading from my chapbook, Daddy's Demons and the Dawn. I'll be reading a poem called The Last Supper. 12 folks gather around me, around the table, none of whom are disciples. 3 wise men, 4 mystics, and 5 marauders. They are dressed in robes and sandals. I wear no clothes, but my hair is hidden under purple-stained linen. It is a celebration. One of y'all is going to betray me for petty cash, I announce to the group as we all take our seats. I watch while the tension creeps in like fog. Eyes flit about as if to say, is it me? Is it them? Who can it be? I pick up my knife from the table and arduously start to cut a sliver of flesh from shoulder cap to elbow, meticulously divided into 13 pieces. I ask everyone seated to take a piece and pass it around. One would think this ragtag bunch of miscreants were all vegan with the way they hesitantly examine my meat. This is my body, which I've broken for you. Eat this. The dinner party is nothing if not obedient. We chew, 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 and swallow. The unease in the air is still palpable. I have collected blood from my wound in my cup. I take a sip, pass the chalice to my right, instruct the crew to lift me to their lips and drink. This shared ritual has done nothing to assuage the lingering doubt and relative paranoia. I can feel the thoughts running through everyone's brains. Yes, I know who will sell me out at a discounted rate. Yes, my father is aware of what he is putting me through. But I am going off script. I can't trust him. He raped my underage mother to create me. Yes, Joseph will never recover if my fate comes. So we are all going to sit here until the traitor makes a confession. Backstabbers are not generally known for their bravery. Let's cut to the chase. It's you, Judas, I exclaim after waiting for over an hour. I am drunk on my own blood and wine. I know how this particular story is supposed to end. I asked 2 of the wise men to string the turncoat up on a tree so we can hang him and I can go to sleep. I have a big day ahead of me. They oblige me, and that snake with ropes around his throat meets his end in the same manner, but earlier in the timeline than planned. Listen up. There is a rip in the time-space continuum. My father cannot interfere. We are all getting out of here alive. The only thing you need is the faith of a mustard seed to follow me into the darkness where we all came from many millennia ago, me and the 11 remaining guests, link hands, cross the threshold. We emerge on the other side as pure energy. That's it.
Woo! Unmute and everybody give a round of applause. I was like, I know
Wow,
this story.
wow. It's always amazing.
Yeah, that was awesome. That went into some I don't want to say deliciously, no pun intended, dark places.
Called out the cannibalism in that story.
Yeah,
Right.
I am kind of curious always. Haven't done it yet, so everybody can be safe. What where did that come from, Ayana?
So, my chapbook is called Daddy's Demons and the Dawn, and a lot of it is reckoning with many childhood issues, the demons that I faced in my personal life, and kind of a look forward into the hope that is the future. And while I was brainstorming on what to include in this, I was like, you know who probably has a lot of daddy issues? Jesus Christ.
That is very true.
Definitely.
Not wrong.
Yeah.
Rightfully so.
this.
Rightfully so.
Those are some daddy issues. That is a good way to look at it. All right. We're going to have somebody else popping in. It's going to be James Bryant, who I also gave the wrong link to. So he's going to be popping in a minute. Good thing I left my Facebook open. So let us, thank you, Ayana. That was awesome. That is going to happily haunt me. I was like, oh, I know this story. Oh, no, I don't. I don't know the story like this. That was awesome. So let us hear from the ever dark and lovely Pixie Bruner now.
Hi, I'm going to be reading a short prose poem and a series of haikus that I wrote today. And he held for my eternal pally, Michelle. He clamped her wrist like a manacle as he played the Russian game. Click, 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 clack, silence, as the blade slid into a knuckle. The red pool was still just a line of a couple fingers. He pulled the knife from her meat and bone, and it took seconds for the pearls of deep red to well up as the next clicks began, with the blade poised over the back of her spread hand. The slipped spot flopped open, a gill taking in oxygen and dripping red jewels. That click, click, click of the knife, dangling gems clacking against themselves on a costume jewelry necklace. In the end, he had a pair of earrings and a set of polyhedral knucklebone dice. She had no hands. And this is a haiku series using the Stafford Challenge email subject of the day, You Are a Poet. You are a poet. Really? I could have sworn I was a trash compactor. You are a poet. You sure? I thought I was a garbage disposal. You are a poet. No, I am something else. A seamstress of words. You are a poet. Then why do my words get fucked by tiny dumb pricks? You are a poet. Damn right I am, and nothing will get in my way. Thank you very much.
Ooh, unmute, applause, Pixie. I love that. You are a poet. And I thought I was a trash compactor. In a way, isn't that the same thing? we take all kinds of crap and we compact it.
Pretty
Yes,
much.
I love that
The
trash compactor.
You are a
symbolism.
poet! Exclamation point. No, I thought I was what? Really? Oh my God, I'm shocked. So I had to take
Lovely.
shots at
Awesome.
it. I couldn't resist.
Yeah, I love that. I always love hearing you read.
My first haikus. My first series of them too.
That's awesome. Where do you have plans for that? Like, where is that? Like, where are you publishing, or where are you planning, or is it just shopping around?
I don't know. I just wrote it today, so I have no idea.
Okay. Sorry, that's always my, like, come on, let's move. Where's this being published? Let's go.
If we get to do a second round, I'll do a piece that's getting published.
Okay, well, it doesn't matter to me. I'm like, this is our intellectual property, and I'm always obsessed with getting it out there so we can get something for it.
I have no idea what I'm going to do. I have no idea what to do with haiku. So if anyone has suggestions, pixiebruner@gmail.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, thank you for that, Pixie. I also want to welcome James Bryant in. He is not late. I just sent him the wrong link. So thank you, James, for coming in. He's an awesome poet himself who writes haiku, by the way, and also runs SPOFest and a bunch of other open mic events, which is where I met him originally. So thank you for coming in, James. I've got you on the list. And I apologize about giving you that wrong link. I mean, having my assistant named Angela give you the wrong link. She should be fired. So next up, we're going to have Shane Morin, who is binging Stargate SG1, but not right now because he's going to read us some amazing work.
Oh, thank you. You guys can hear me okay. I'm using a webcast thing that's different from my laptop. Cool. This is a little bit of a long form poem in 4 parts. It's called Con Sombras. It's based on Red's intro, Canto 3. 1. In my periphery, spectral faces sizzle. Daylight infiltrates shadowed factories. Atonal hammers strike untuned heartstrings. Sostenuto pedals press the rib cage. Con sombras, the ghastly staff cuts the dust. It's nothing. I feel temporary. Faces pass, erode as wax statues. Glossed eyes melt. Jaded smiles blur to a numbed sneer. Arms deteriorate. They're all temporary. We're all so obsolete. Chords slice the silence. A mad symphony echoes across the vacant halls. I stand impermanent, wavering. I swear it's nothing. A twilight trick of the seasons, isn't it? 2. The yellow walls decay before me. Sulfur suffocates the spider plants. My childlike height overshadowed by long halls caked with asphalt. If only the walls were white like baker's icing, I'd relish my childhood spiral. The ghetto gingerbread homes, my friend's confectionery, mom's alcoholic breath. If only snowflakes fall lazy upon the Atlantic. I spot myself treading along. I toss a life jacket. I fight to grab it. 3. There's a majestic crash. Steel fuses to asphalt. Pedestrian natures evaporate. Flakes of winter. Engine 5 blares down central. Ethanol and adrenaline pour out. The triple-paned glass stays the chaos, just sometimes. Alabaster falls upon innocence. Shadows sing cantos. Darkness chants. Errant memories invade streamed consciousness. 2 dilapidated marriages. Job to job. Daughter displaced by fate. Bullet burns my veins. It's simply everything. I've become collateral damage. Steel and flesh amalgamate and fade. I will survive in negative space. When she asks, what does depression feel like? I say, it feels like this. And 4. The world tires, tucks herself in blankets, laden with innocence. Serenity surrounds her in silence. Mankind slumbers at last, and she has peace. We remain, we dream, we sleep, we lie. Outside natural selection awaits transcendence. Mutated nucleotides lead to our own suicide. Theorized strings play for us at the turning tide. See, we feed, we live, we have no less. We fall deaf. We are hybridized humans, cybernetic sloths, zombified, Screen time digitizes our fragile minds, cobwebbed chemistry, our strange neurons falter. And we plead to the heavens, save us all. Too busy to listen for the cosmos whisper, save yourself. We cry, excuse me, we cry into the shadows, save our selfish world.
Yes. Yes. I'm waiting for you to say thank you, Adi, because I don't want to interrupt that, but that was awesome. Woo, thank you. Everybody unmute.
Beautiful.
And
Thank
applause.
you, Shane. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. My favorite piece
Yeah.
of yours.
Yeah, I love what was it? Gingerbread, like a favela, like all the shacks and stuff, but described as like gingerbread and stuff. That was awesome.
Confectionery
Yeah.
friends.
Yeah, that was beautiful. I mean, the whole thing was beautiful, but I always feel like I have eaten a really delicious, but also healthy, enriching meal when I listen to you read poetry.
Thank you.
It's good. It's good. Awesome. Thank you. This is why I do this, because I get to just sit here and like glaze out and listen to people read to me, which is wonderful. I mean, I know you're not reading just to me, but this is why I do this. And next, let's hear from Gordon Linsner. Speaking of space and time that, we keep talking about in here, here's the founder of Space and Time.
Found. Okay. Well, as you know, I usually prefer reading an entire story, so I'll go through short ones. But I thought for a change, I'll just read the opening to one that came out recently in a collection called Darkness Blooms, put out by Dread Machine. It's called A New Night Parade. Seiji Ozawa pondered the half-dozen small forms laid out before him. Each head pointed the north, as was proper for the dead. The emptiness of the storeroom, which smelled like a hospital corridor, made them look even smaller. "These are the best you have?" he asked gloomily. "Children?" The body broker spread his palms. "These are all I have, Ozawa-san. The Obon Festival begins tomorrow night. Had you come to me a month ago, or even half a month?" The man's tone was tinged with disrespect. Ozawa scowled. Once Ada were ashamed of their heritage as outsiders. Although the designation was officially banned, Japanese culture had a long memory, and descendants of tanners and gravediggers continued to be scorned for decades afterwards. Ozawa could understand the man's attitude. His own samurai ancestors, turning to commerce after the Meiji Restoration, were looked down on by their former equals. His family endured that spite proudly, as befitted their heritage, and they were ultimately proven right. The body broker, however, possessed no drop of blood. To judge by him, today's Ada had become positively brazen in the 5 years Ozawa spent managing Katamura Corporation's Houston offices. There was money in reanimation, while government regulations permitted. "I only returned to Tokyo last week," Ozawa commented. Since then, he'd been increasingly dismayed by the pervasiveness of this vogue. In the United States, reanimation was largely confined to the entertainment business. The executive was at first amused, but so many people with more money than taste were augmenting household shrines with recently deceased ancestors, programmed by implanted mini-computers to acknowledge token offerings of food and money. Then he discovered how seriously Katamura's president had taken to the fad. Ozawa could see that his job was in jeopardy. Younger, particularly his former assistant, Shiro Watanabe, vied for executive slots to which he'd returned. There were whispered accusations that he'd become Americanized. Ridiculous. Ozawa had hated every minute of those 5 years, going along with it only for the good of the company. Even his lack of a wife could be interpreted as an unwillingness to conform to Japanese norms, when in fact Houston offered a dearth of suitable mates. Ozawa would never be fired, but he could be shunted to a position of minor responsibility where he would rot for the next 20 years. No more use to society than these dead youngsters before him. Such a fate would bring disgrace upon his entire house, of which he was presently the sole male descendant. Not deep enough to call for seppuku, ritual disembowelment, but humiliating nonetheless. Only a deep show of traditional devotion would prove to his fellow workers that he was still a true Japanese, such as entering a beloved ancestor's remains in the annual Yakiyaku. These night parades, inspired by a millennium-old superstition that demons walk the streets on certain nights, now began and ended Midsummer's Oban, the ancient Buddhist festival for the souls of the dead. Dancing in the streets, once done for the entertainment of the dead, was now performed by them for the pleasure of the living. New mats for every altar and household shrine, tiny meals laid in readiness for the ghostly guests. These traditional signs of respect no longer seemed sufficient. Perhaps, the body broker suggested, the boy on the end, he is tall for a 14-year-old. With the proper garb and makeup, no makeup could withstand a Tokyo summer, Ozawa interrupted. Buying or renting an ancestor was acceptable. An extension of those businesses which hired out actors to pose as wedding guests, for instance, to make the occasion more impressive, or substitute for an employer unable to impede. The gesture was sufficient proof of piety. Society was willing to stretch the truth. Reanimation had only been established in Japan for a few years. The alternative was a patricide epidemic. The lie had to be plausible, though. No one would believe this adolescent boy was the venerated ancestor of an executive in his 43rd summer. The Ada bowed. Oh, please accept humble apologies for unworthy suggestion. A good businessman keeps a better stock, grumbled Ozawa, annoyed at the mockery. You knew there'd be a heavy demand at this time of year. And what am I to do about it? Murder people to compensate for the procrastination and imprudence of others? The Eda shrugged. The natural death rate is declining. Many bereaved families lacking funds to preserve a loved one at home prefer cremation of their loved ones. It's kind of recycling. A good thing, Ozawa thought, though the fact inconvenienced him now. The city was already more crowded than he remembered it from 5 years earlier. Where would they house all these dead? Enjoy your success while you can, Ozawa warned. I read that some Buddhist sects are petitioning their diet to outlaw reanimation as sacrilegious. Oh, progress always has its detractors. The Ida smiled in complacence. Ozawa would have added his name to such a petition in a minute. As none was available, he turned and left the air-conditioned warehouse. Thank you.
Ooh.
Wonderful. Wow.
So if you're going to tell us a little bit, I know you don't want to give away spoilers, but without spoilers, what happens in the rest of that book?
To the rest of the...
Yeah, just like where does that go from there a little bit? Just give us a little bit about the book and tell us what the book title is again.
The collection is called Darkest Blooms. The story itself is only about 5,000 words, but yeah, he's running out of the place. He runs into a beggar, and he decides, I'm going to convince this beggar to pretend he's dead, and then he'll impersonate my descendant, and it goes downhill from there.
You imagine that. Imagine, impersonating dead people. What could go wrong?
Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Gordon. That's awesome.
Thank
and
you.
that link will be in the description. I'm going to find that link and make sure I put it in the description.
Thank you.
Yeah, it was awesome. And now we have Craig Brownlee, who is also attached to space and time somehow. It's like we're having a meeting of space and time people here or something. Welcome, Craig.
Hey, hopefully you can hear me and not. I got set up out in the back porch, and the city has come alive with it being Saturday night. So hopefully I'm audible and not the apparently Journey cover band in the distance. All right, here we go. It's a villanelle for a slamming metal door. If the street's the land, we stand on a distant shore. On the cancer roof, we turn no one away. Show your diagnosis at the slamming metal door. Perhaps you're lost. Maybe it's only a detour. Like seabirds, we watch the moon throughout the day. If the street's the land, we stand on a distant shore. A cement block maintains the narrow aperture. For those who demand entry without delay, show your diagnosis at the slamming metal door. I used to see forever, but not anymore. On a rusty lawn chair, I plan to stay. If the street's the land, we rest on a distant shore. They tell us there's no room left below on any floor, though very few up here are given any say. Show your diagnosis at the slamming metal door. The cancer roof's forever, plus a little more. Far from the sea, in the sun, so little shade. If the street's the land, we stand on a distant shore. Show your diagnosis at the slamming metal door. Thank you.
Nice. That's an unusual topic for a villanelle. Like where did that come from? I always want to know where everything comes from.
Yes,
I
you do.
have no words. Thank you so much as a survivor.
Thank you. Helping a lot of friends over the last few years and family, and losing some of them.
Yeah.
Family. Well, I'm choose my words well here, because I want to say, well, I'm glad we got a poem out of it, but that seems very callous. So I'm not saying that, but I love the poem.
Yes, thank you. No, it's, I mean, it is also the purpose of making art is to help yourself find a way through the challenges that life gives us. Yeah,
exactly. And then that means something to somebody else, like Pixie just said. So yeah, thank you.
Sure.
Thank you for that. And now we're going to have James, who was, like, as I said, not late, but misguided by myself. And James, if you are ready, go ahead and pop in and introduce yourself, because I didn't get to introduce yourself. Yourself. I speak English.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you perfectly.
Okay. I don't use Google Meet all that often, and since I use screen reader software, I was kind of lost. I was like, how do I do this? But my microphone is on now, so that's step one, right? Yeah, I'm kind of new to this. I don't know what the guidelines are. Well, what do we do? I mean, is there a time limit or?
No, not really. It's kind of the same as SFPA, just enough for everybody to be able to read, like 3 minutes, I guess.
3 minutes, okay. My mother is watching Lifetime Network or something like that, so that's going to be in the background. Well, I write dark haiku as Angela mentioned. I write what's called dark haiku. It's my bastardization of the Japanese form of haiku. It's 575 format. It has nothing to do with seasonal or the natural world. It's just basically, sad, morbid, dark, gothic, stuff of that nature. And I'll just read a couple. And Angela, I have my hardcover book that was recently published in front of me in the document format. Pick a number between 1 and 125. That's the number of dark haiku I have in my book here. And I'll read that one for you.
Samantha Worthington has a chat. Alt tab, normal style, 120.
I'm sorry, what was that number?
13. And hopefully I didn't just jinx us.
Pull F. 3. Enter. PC cursor escape. Land. 13. Hurricane laughter. Land.
Okay, this one is called Hurricane Laughter, and you're probably familiar with this one. Hurricane Laughter, into the eye of my storm, there is no shelter. Hurricane Laughter, into the eye of my storm, there is no shelter. One more, and I'll just sit back and let you guys take it over from there. Anybody in the audience want to pick a number, or Angela? Again, it's between 1 and 125.
23.
Say again, 83?
23.
23, okay. I'm also hearing impaired as well as being
Control F. Quick
blind.
view. 3. Enter. 23.
okay.
Escape. PC cursor. Land. 23. Vampire lover.
This one is called Vampire Lover.
PC cursor. Land. Vampire lover.
Vampire Lover.
Land. Sucking sweet life from my veins.
Sucking sweet life from my vein.
Land. Sleep tight, my angel.
Sleep tight, my angel. Vampire Lover, sucking sweet life from my vein. Sweet sleep, my angel. You might appreciate that, Angela, based off of a recent encounter.
I do. James has another talk show, and he just interviewed me today for that, and we had a big old discussion about vampires. The truth was revealed about my past.
Yes, it's like an expose, if you will. If you want to learn all about Angela when she's not writing and publishing, you definitely want to check out what I do call In Other Words. It's a behind the scenes on poets, writers, and authors when they're not writing. And I do this with my good friend Lee Eric Friedman. And Angela, since I'm unfamiliar with the GUI here, if you could
Mute you? You want me to mute you again?
Yeah, you might want to mute me. Thank you, Angela, for having me on, and thanks everybody. I've enjoyed everyone's reading up to this point. Thank you again.
Yeah, absolutely. I love having you on, James. And you've done such a good job with SPOFest. It's such a good, all of the things that you do for the poet community are awesome. So I'm happy to have you here. And after this, we usually go another round. So if you want to read again,
1.75 inches. Tab 2.25 inches.
I'll just circle back to that.
All none highlighted. Virtual piece. Turn off microphone button.
Okay. All right. And now I'm going to read really quickly. This is like not a poetry night because I'm going to read In Eugenie, which is coming out tomorrow. And I'm so excited. Not really. I'm actually scared to death. But by the time everybody's listening to this, it's going to be last week. So I'm going to read just a minute out of In Eugenie. And I'm starting with chapter 3, which incidentally was the first chapter that I wrote. And it's called Kaori, North Okinawa Shisa sighting. Get in this boat. If she hadn't been clutching a newborn baby, Kaori's mother would have jumped out of the boat and wrestled her crazy daughter into their rickety little skiff. She would have tied her up if needed, gagged her to muffle the tantrum screams. In the distance, they could all hear the explosions. Kaori, please, we have to go. Kaori backed away another step. She wanted to run through the outgoing tide and join her family. She was terrified of the soldiers that would soon overrun everything. She felt too young to be alone, but there was no way she could leave the island, the grove, and grotto especially. Her spirit voice told her to stay, so she would. The tide was leaving, and with it, Kaori's family. Her father was resigned to the loss. Kaori could see it in his eyes. He was sealing her off in his heart, turning his gaze inward so as to not see her. It hurt, but she understood. He was practiced at losing things, a first wife and family, a son, her little brother. You won't find him. Her mother's words traveled across the surf to lodge in Kaori's eyes, making them sting. She wanted to ask them to wait. She knew they would. Her father would be relieved. Her mother would sob into her hair. Her baby sister would know her. She swallowed the words back. She had to stay. They were already leaving, going out with the tide. I don't know if I want to find him, Kaori yelled to be heard. But I still have to stay. Her mother looked confused, and then she too resigned. She was losing another child. Her eyes reflected the pain, and she closed them, sealing it away. Her tears escaped to baptize the new baby. Kaori could hear gunfire. There were dangerous smells in the breeze, iron-tainted smoke, burning poisons, the smell of strangers. She turned her back on her family and the sea. There was no point in watching the little boat recede into what was now her past. The present moment was calling her attention now. Above the trees, there was smoke. The soldiers were here. And that is from Inyujini. And it's about Okinawa in World War III, but World War II. We haven't got World War III yet. World War II. And from the point of view of young girls that had to endure that. So that was that. And
Great.
I think, thank you. So I always cut everybody off. I'm like, okay, now I've read, let's go back. But yeah, I'm excited about that to be released, but also, nervous.
That was great, Angela. That was amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And I think we haven't heard from Amanda yet.
Did I skip over Amanda?
We skipped Amanda. I want to hear Amanda too.
Oh, sorry. You know
Although
what?
Kaori is my favorite character from Inujini.
Thank you. I've made a list. The whole point of the sign up that I have absolutely messed up this entire time is so that I would be organized. So apparently having a sign up list is no help to me. But let's hear from Amanda. And if you ever feel bad about what you guys are doing, like anybody listening to this, if you ever feel bad about yourself, I've already fucked up. So you can do it. Whatever you are struggling with, you got this. Because I'm still here somehow surviving. So Amanda, would you read for us?
Sure. Hey, everybody. I'm Amanda. And tonight I'm going to read a couple of interconnected pieces from kind of a weird project I undertook a couple of years ago. It's called No Quarter. It's actually a novella-length work, but it's told in verse. And themes are like generational trauma. There's some murder trees in it. I was very, very traumatized by Wizard of Oz as a child. That was my first horror experience. So I think that imagery partly comes from that too. But without further ado, here we go. A paperback dictionary lays unopened, its red cover bent and faded, awaiting her fingers, eager. She thumbs through, seeking a word in the deep. A sea of entries waits, restless, like children in June. She bypasses desiccate and deduce, comes upon her prey at last, erstwhile, previous, before. Poetic form. It is warm like the laughter they share. This is leaks beyond grotto, which she encountered at age 5 or 6 as it luxuriated in its natural atmosphere. Like the past, subterranean, not gone so much as buried. Her mother didn't know what it meant either. They looked it up together and spoke of words' power and our responsibility to use them well, wield them with purpose, recognize that with the wrong intent they can cut rather than serve us. Coming back to the present moment is like emerging from an infinite pool. A woman rifles through boxes, the bottoms sag under the weight of their contents. The quiet decay of the basement, home to kept but forgotten things, is peace from the hard act of living. She seeks the little dictionary. She's moved out, but she's never moved on. It must be here somewhere. She must be here somewhere, for the book and her mother are inextricably linked in her mind. Erstwhile companions, you might say. Finding them means finding that part of herself that deserves to be brought up into the light, the part she needs to keep safe from the creeping roots that invite her to use her hurt to make others bleed. She hears them now, seeking blindly at her heart, shadow scraping bone. No, she breathes. Of all the words in the deep, this one is sharpest. This one resists, silences, brooks no argument. She is alone again, regains her composure, resumes her search. It's gotta be somewhere. No doesn't work forever. No is an expiration date. Eventually it sours in your mouth like old milk. She's crouched over another box when it takes her, roots twisting like earthen fingers. It crawls into her veins, ectopic, resisting her shape, reconfiguring her wiring even as she recognizes all the parts she cannot possibly contain. She knows they are one without knowing how she knows, and together they grow. Future me is a tree, she finds herself thinking, as she sends her roots far and wide, desperate for the nutrient-rich soil of a receptive mind, and the future is ancient from the right perspective and impossible from the wrong one. And then she speaks to me, and then I speak to me, and the language is suddenly intuitive, unutterable, simple, to the point of abstraction. I cannot reproduce it here, but my mother appears as the roots approach my heart, and I hear the voice I'd almost forgotten as they tear at my aorta. I could join her if I wanted. She'd succumbed to the wrong kind of growth, and so could I. It's not that I couldn't. She is so near, close enough to touch, real enough that my breath might disturb her. It's that I wouldn't. Death has stalked me quietly, but I have too much left to do to die. And even my mother can't convince me otherwise. Thank you.
I love
That's
that. There was
beautiful.
so much in there.
Fantastic.
Absolutely haunting.
Amanda, you're brilliant.
See, I
Yes.
agree with that.
No, I
Thank
appreciate
you,
that.
Amanda.
I want to crawl inside of your brain.
Oh, well, now this is a non.
I don't know about
killing
that. It's
people
a very
open mic.
disturbing place in there.
That's
Like-
why I think she wants to do it. It's a wonderful place. We like our visits to it.
Well, and I'm sitting here going, yeah, like crawling into somebody's brain isn't disturbing at all.
I'm sorry.
No, I
I
love
mean it
it.
with love.
Poets are earwigs.
You're right.
Oh, no, I
Parasites and
love
earwigs.
it. Yeah, there was. Well, I love the whole thing, but I love when you're getting into like the inspiration of the words and everything. And that's why. Where is that? Is that poem printed somewhere, or because I really kind of want to go through that and digest it more?
Yeah, it's actually part of my
Oh.
collection, No Quarter. So it actually is a thing that I
Yeah.
self-published, but it is available on Amazon. So
I have that in my reader.
Yay.
I remember it now. Like that was like last year, or yeah, right? Yeah, I remember.
it probably was. It's been a very hard year. So
Considering like as I've messed, I think just about everything up tonight so far, I don't even remember what happened this morning at this point. So yeah, but I love that. I remember that. I think I reviewed it and everything because that's an excellent collection. So yeah, the whole novella is one verse, or not one verse, but one connected poem, right?
yes, yeah, there's
Yeah.
several. The poems are like they operate like chapters, kind of.
Yeah, connected. Awesome. All right. Thank you. I'm going to look at the list to make sure I haven't forgotten anybody else. No, did it? And okay. All right. I think we are back to Ayana if you're ready to read, and if you would so like to bless us with more dark and delicious and disturbing words, but they don't have to be. You can read whatever you want.
I do have another poem to read that is probably equally dark and disturbing. It is, I'm sorry, can you guys hear me? Okay, awesome. It is unpublished, and the title of this poem is F29, Psychosis NOS. Hush now, quiet down, I can't hear myself think. It's all friendly neighborhood dog whistles, sidewalks lined with cheap perfume oils, a prism of condom wrappers, day-old dreams lying face down like yesterday's pastries, and ammonia-soaked urine from dehydrated derelicts. Fire alarms in abandoned buildings, ambulance wails lighting up the sky like the 4th of July. Visceral screaming into the void. Gregarious, girlish giggles, grinning garishly and giddily. Open-mouthed chewing. Drums in andante, marching band uniforms pressed neatly. Electrical cracks through the not-up-to-code sockets. Torrential downpours circling clogged city drains. Click, click, click. I can't stop the barrage of suede sonic static, even though it beats me black hole and royal blue. There is a comforting earworm I constantly listen for, delight in, and return to. Settling deeper into these collapsing sound waves, enthralled and terrified of being pulled under. Do I hear it, or does it hear me? We bleed into each other, seamlessly, relentlessly, dangerously. Where am I? Lemniscating through this Azathothean sea. At the ocean's floor, pressure pulled a rabbit out of its hat and gave me gills. To master my monsters, eat them up like free meals. My cake-em brimming, mind on the next kill. Radula, peppered with hints of Darwin. That's it.
Yeah.
I want to crawl in
Wow.
your brain.
A
Thank you. Thank
wonderful
you.
poem. Just such a crazy slipstream nightmare there. Love it.
I was actually thinking I might have lived there at one time. I feel like I've rented there.
They're definitely poorly reviewed on Yelp.
Awesome. Thank you. Thank you so much for that, Ayana. Always come back because I love listening to you read. I mean, everybody always come back, if you'll tolerate all my goofery. But I love hearing you read. That's awesome and delicious. All right. Pixie, would you like to read again?
Okay, yes, I will read something. And if the contract is signed but you haven't been paid yet, can you state that this is published?
Yeah, I think you just say forthcoming, like it's going to be published.
Okay, this is forthcoming in New Myths Winter 2025. Blind spot in the visions. Growth encroaches. 1. The final precious dream dies beneath a wall of flora, a crest of creepers and kudzu, monuments of ferns and tangs and vines entangle us, blockade all light, they swallow the sun. The creepers bind everything, through rock and sliding and skin and bone. The deer roar their passage, no longer timid, now pursuing us. We are hunted. This verdant nightmare, the very earth blooms, dirt choked from erosion, ferns that Gaia ties our tongues with, saprophytes fill our mouths and throats with knots of hyphae. Vessels distend as symbionts rupture within us. New life, inhuman, seeds from this body. We are chlorophyll after death, lungs full of lichens, creeks of moss carry us. We change, our folios, fruticose, hideous lepros or crustos, no longer bellicose. We feed upon the worms, they feed upon us in kind. Life gushes forth over deserts. Everything fecund, humid, moist. We are ecosystems uncontrolled. Our skin bark. tidal pools of algae, red tides under full moons. Monstrous forms emerge to the land. Now the screeches of predators, the crackle of bamboo nightly as it grabs grackles from the heavens and pulls them aground. Subsumed, consumed. The world is bubbling over, delivering life, over delivering on promises of flesh and death. As we lie covered in mud and clots of humus, globs of glutinous roots from army ants and termites and runnels that pour across cut paths. Formic acid wounds itch fire, and we are too entombed, exiled from individuality. Even the caves grow phosphorescent plants. Our senses are overloaded, fatigue. Nothing is soporific, silent, or soothing. My beloved, what have you forgotten? Was scarcity irradiated from a modified past? Was it nurtured in the labs to form abundance, pushing us to the edge of death? Slog with me now, our feet pressure into muck. We are the origin. Science was not the answer. It makes no difference. Overflowing with abundance and danger. Ripe fruit shimmers on novel trees, though we became old Edens, refugees eons ago. From that garden we are thrown, unnecessary beings. Look here, a shelter, steel and locked down. Defoliation couldn't deliver us from this lush ending. Thank you very much.
Wow.
Peace. Cool.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I feel like that took me on a trip through all kinds of places. That's awesome, Pixie.
Thank you very much. It's part of my blind spot and visions. It is 4 quartets of 3 triptychs each. The fire element will be in the next Dreams and Nightmares, and the ice, air chills, the earth subsumes, and water dissolves will be in New Myths Winter 2025.
Nice. Congratulations on that.
Awesome.
Thank you very much.
Awesome. Well, let's find out if Shane has anything else for us. Are you up, Shane?
Yeah. I was like, well, I had a new thing I typed up from my notebook from last week, but I think we'll do a crowd favorite that had been workshopped, I think, for the last 3 weeks, both in conjunction with the writing group and myself. This is Third Watch on the Kachiko, after Breaking Benjamin's Red Cold River, the music video. Have you seen her? Blonde hair, blue eyes, a red ribbon. 4 days fade to dusk. The sun self-extinguishes over the Kachiko. John said he saw her last along Community Trail, playing Ranger Rick on the banking. The hound's baying bounces off the mills. Missing posters decorate the town in confetti. Have you seen her? Red ribbon, blonde, blue eyes, red ribbon, red. Howling grows louder. Wolf packs hunting the moon. I know these trails, each curve I caressed. The cold river sighs as a lost love. Blonde hair, blue. The must of earth and moss compel me further. The pines edge closer to the shore, their roots dangling in the waters, cool, like children in August. Red and blues splinter the night. A bellow echoes across the chill air, the howling closer. Red ribbon, blue. Yellow tape a shawl for the overpass. The chill is no more. The wrenching in my rib cage is no more. The baying ceases. Rain pelts my face like shots of Novocaine. Red strobes illuminate, a rag doll tangled in roots, discarded. The ground beneath shudders, scarlet trails the ground. The river runs red.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Tell
Stunning.
me where
Stunning
that.
and haunting.
Yeah. Yeah. Where did that come from again? Like, what inspired that?
During Breaking Benjamin's Ember album, they did 3 consecutive music videos to tell the story of a father that lost their daughter to a rapist, and the spiritual horror delving into like the rage that it creates, the seeking justice for the perpetrator in a very interesting hellish sense.
Yeah. Yeah. Breaking Benjamin is awesome. That's one of my favorite bands. And just gonna say, awesome mentioning Ranger Rick. Not a lot of people know who that is anymore.
Oh man.
But you know Ranger Rick, Craig?
Oh, of course.
Thank you. See, obviously a cultured group here. Anybody who doesn't know who Ranger Rick is, I'm not judging you, but you know.
In
Might be.
workshop, I actually thanked him for mentioning the Ranger Rick.
We all love Ranger Rick. Awesome. Well, thank you for that. And now let's hear from Craig if he has something to read, and then it'll be Gordon again.
All righty. Here. Hey, there we go. So this is quick, and it's a little bit different from the other one. On the beach, marinated in lotion and slow cooked by the sun, singeing at light speed all afternoon, neap, neither high nor low, accompanied by a lone albatross, the beak devours a hermit crab, while the sand absorbs the chaise lounge, and I sink, and I sink, and sink, as those black orbs observe. Thank you.
I like that. Marinating in, what was it? Marinating in
In lotion.
lotion. Okay, I was like, I know I said suntan lotion in my head, but I don't think it was that. That's awesome. That's
Thanks.
awesome. Tell me a little bit about that piece, like where it came from and where it might be going.
It came from sunburn. Yeah. There you go. And too many seagulls and birds eyeing, whatever you brought to the beach to nibble on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's awesome. You took it into like a much bigger place than that. But say
What are
write
the black
poetry and writers.
spheres? What are the black spheres? That's
The
ominous.
black orbs, they're actually they're the eyes of the albatross.
Oh, yeah.
Interesting.
They to me were alien, and this is not our beach. So yeah, I brought some speculative elements into that and made it far. Whoa, that was crazy, eerie, scary. That worst sunburn ever. Thank you.
Once you write something and put it out there, it is what the readers hear.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
That's the
I'm good
magic
with
of poetry.
it. Really, really is. It's just an awesome aspect to it all.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks.
Thank you. I was with you, Pixie. I was like kind of picturing like not bird eyes, but something way darker and more ominous and mysterious. But hey, birds
Me too.
are kind of creepy, I think. So
Oh,
personally.
they are. Hitchcock definitely proved it.
Yeah. All right, Gordon, did you have a second round to read? Oh, but unmute.
And since you were asking, couldn't resist. Since you were asking about where the story went, I thought I'd just skip ahead a couple of pages. Still not get more than halfway through. I don't want to spoil anything. But it's a part where the our main character, Ozawa, has run into the blind beggar, Kaiko. And Kaiko suddenly grabbed his arm and says, "You need a dead man to represent you at the Yakiyako?" Ozawa blinked, startled by the Kaiko's sudden intensity. "You know where I can find one?" "He stands before you." Ozawa pulled free, horrified at the suggestion, though impressed by the man's sense of honor. Reanimation added a wrinkle to the ritual suicide, offering a more pragmatic statement. "No, you can't kill yourself, not for me." He fumbled for his wallet to press higher denomination bills on Kaiko. The blind man gave him a thin smile. "I am already a living corpse, unable to work, unable to see. However, I do not propose ending my life. Miserable I may be, but still, it is my life, and not entirely without pleasure." Ozawa sighed relief. "Oh, I thought you were serious." "I am. But why else would a man of your quality visit this part of Tokyo, save to rent a corpse from this warehouse behind you, to impersonate your ancestors?" "Yes, but why not then hire a living man to impersonate the corpse?" Ozawa stared. "It would never work." "Of course it would. I've read everything available in Braille on the subject. Reanimates are like machines, are they not? Mindless, unable to see, speak, act for themselves." Ozawa rubbed his chin. He gave a short laugh. "This is no coincidence. You are bumping into me outside this warehouse." The blind man grinned. "Of course not. I've given this much thought and find no better way to stave off hunger. I only lacked a patron desperate enough to accept my offer." "Still, the real corpses are controlled by tiny computers which have been programmed to follow the parade route. If you strayed, I know the city. I would not stray." "And involuntary reflexes, facial tics, expressions are programmed in because a frozen countenance is disconcerting. But suppose you stub your toe and cursed. Voices for the dead have not been perfected." The blind man gestured Ozawa to bend nearer. "Is anyone within hearing?" "No." "Good. I possess a small quantity of a mild paralysis drug derived from the poison of the pufferfish. How I came by this substance is none of your concern. I learned of it from a doctor who used it in an unsuccessful operation to restore my sight. A sublethal dose can paralyze my vocal cords for up to 12 hours. Still, Ozawa hesitated. "Come, sir," urged the blind man. "We are both desperate men. You for a surrogate ancestor, I for money. Each can fulfill the other's needs. If you are as successful as your garment indicates, you must understand a simple barter should carry an emotional baggage." Ozawa straightened. "How much?" "Ah," said Aikido. He pointed in the direction Ozawa had been walking. "My room is 2 blocks that way. We can discuss terms there." And it gets better from that point.
Well,
Not so
thanks
much
for
that-
leaving us hanging. Oh, I have to finish that now. I have to finish reading the story.
I need to know everything about the reanimated.
Yeah.
Hmm.
Yeah, I was just reading the comments, a living corpse. Yeah. So you combined in that story, it's science fiction, but with like kind of like the Japanese culture kind of woven into it. I like that.
It's folklore and all that fun
Yeah.
stuff.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you for reading that, Gordon. And yeah, I'm going to get that link from you because I really need to include it in the description, but also finish reading that story now that you've got me all hooked on it.
Well, now
Cyberpunk
once you're finished,
folklore. I'm on board.
Yeah.
Cyberpunk folklore.
Yeah.
I'll send you a link with it for the book. So you
Okay.
can post it with the reading.
Yeah, because now it's like stuck in my head and it's just going to sit there and tick and tick and tick until I actually get to find out what happens. So thanks for that. But that is like the whole point of a good story, right? Torture your
Thank you.
readers. All right. We're just about done. I don't know if James wants to read again. If you need a minute to prepare, I can read another one and then you can close us out if you want, James. And then I think I've gotten everybody. Let me look on my list that was supposed to save me and keep me organized. Yeah, I think I got everybody. So I'm going to go ahead and read another one, and then James can get ready to read again if he wants to, or we'll just close it. And I thank you all for being here. And this is a high bun because it's all I've been writing lately. I do that with food as well. And this is actually about the real time I was kidnapped for 3 days. And so now it's just a funny story because it was a long time ago. Not funny, but an interesting story because it happened so long ago. But this is called I've Lived Through Worse, or The Most I've Paid for Lunch in Spokane. There was that one time I lay staring at the plastic-skinned faux wood paneling in your bedroom for 3 days straight, naked, dazed, stunned. I watched your bare light bulb a lot, trying to count the small brown specks that dotted the thin glass. It was harsh light, like you, a glaring intrusion into my purple dreams, heavy with something in the milk. No such thing as free lunch. The mattress smelled sour, like sweat and vinegar. No sheets, just dirty laundry, shadows, and deep, deep dreams of anywhere. Was your mother always there or just visiting? I heard your voices, not in the room. And the thought that I was alone slid through my brain like black molasses, as dark as your walls. And then I was back. The door was ajar and you were down the long hall. My pants, my shirt wadded in the corner, snatched up. Through narrow opening near enough. A front door, deadbolt, and then the cool brass knob was in my palm. My insides were cold, numb, frozen as I twisted the lock latch with trembling efficiency, and the door opened. I was the blind wind, an eagle-missed rabbit, a second chance, zagging through bushes, zigging through alleys, my back a magnet for your eyes, my bare feet painting the pavement in blood. Excitement and terror twisted together so tight in my chest there was no room for breath, and I stopped. Reclothed, a payphone, a collect call, a ride arriving as you walked down the middle of the quiet neighborly street, demanding your girlfriend back. I never knew we were going steady. 3 days of my life is a high price for lunch, but a cheap lesson learned. And that was that. Thank you.
Ooh.
So, yeah, it was a very interesting experience. I feel like I got away, so it's all good. That was a cheap lesson, people. Don't accept free lunch.
Your microphone.
Wow. Wow, I'm so glad you're still with us.
Yeah, oh, me too. That's why it's a cheap payment because I made it through. So.
Yeah,
Good
if you want
demonstration of Tanstaffel.
Of what?
Tanstaffel. There ain't no such thing as a free lunch.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. So I think I'm going to say James has something else to read.
Yeah, I do. Just one thing, and I'm a musician as well, so I like to put music to my dark haiku to give it a little bit more oomph. Because there's not really much to a dark haiku once you read it, right? So what I'll do is I'll read it out loud, and then I will play the I don't know, the studio version of it where I have some music to kind of give it some more, oomph. And this is from my latest hardcover book. Okay. My body, garbage, left in the dumpster to rot, decomposing waste.
Alt tab. D dark haiku back enter.
My body, garbage, left in the dumpster to rot, decomposing, waste.
You made me jump with that, James.
If you listen closely, do you hear the little sound effects that I added, like the sound of a body being dumped in the dumpster, little thunk noise?
I think so. I think I was just more like trying not to pee my pants because that came out so fast and loud and vicious.
That was
Emotional.
metal as fuck. Pardon my language. That was just metal as fuck. Bravo.
That took me about a half an hour to get that sound just right, because I was wanting to try to mimic the sound of what a body would sound like hitting
Yeah.
the bottom of the dumpster, and I'm like, it took me a while, and I finally got it. But I won't play it again, But yeah, you hear it at the right when I get ready to say to rot. That's when you hear the.
Yeah.
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 So.
That was awesome. I was leaning in because I was like, what's he going to play? And I was expecting poetry music, like da 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 da. We're reading a poem. It's so soothing. You can go to sleep now. And instead it was like
Now, why would you expect something like happy after my body garbage, ding 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 ding, left in the dumpster to rot. So anyway, I needed to join the parade of disturbing images. So thank you for your indulgence.
Well done. You definitely
Thank
joined
you.
the parade. That was a great ending.
Thank you.
Now for the rest of the night, I'm gonna have that in my head. Chucked in a dumpster to rot. Awesome. Thank you, everybody, for coming in and reading and being patient with my happy tech skills. I'm going to blame somebody else. I don't know who it is yet, but yeah, my assistant did that.
Blame the gremlins.
Yeah, exactly. It was those vain gremlins, of which there are many. But you know what? I welcome them because it allows us to be sitting here reading poetry and prose to each other at this time. And I don't think we would have done this like 5 years ago. What was Zoom 5 years ago? So I'll take the tech gremlins and we'll just figure it out. But thank you, everybody, for coming in and reading, and we will do it in next week.
Thanks, Angela.
Yes, thank you very much.
Much appreciated.
It's great to meet James and Craig as well.
Yeah.
Great talking and hearing, and it was wonderful.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody, and we will see you next week.
Grab some paper, grab your pen, open opportunities, and you can begin. When you exercise your rights and get published, you may change. Write your own path, both wonderful and strange, with opportunities. With opportunities.